Miller L. was a case that Dallas County in the 80s used a manual called the Sparling Manual. The manual specifically told the assistant district attorneys to strike African Americans, strike black people, strike Jews. It was a race-based manual that was used to impose the death penalty on Miller L. That case went to the Supreme Court. It came back a few different times. Ultimately, myself and Mike Heist were appointed as special prosecutors. That was my first endeavor into it. There were some other cases that I special prosecuted. The one that you're talking about was the case against John Romer. What was unique there in Tarrant County, Mr. Romer was ultimately prosecuted for the offense of aggravated perjury as it related to false testimony in the grand jury regarding his use of force. And so he had assaulted a person named Henry Newsom, and the assault itself would have been a misdemeanor. But the conduct of bringing false testimony into the grand jury was, I think, considered a systematic problem, where you had police officers who were accused of misconduct, essentially giving false testimony in the grand jury. And so that was the first indictment in the history of Tarrant County of a police officer for false testimony in the grand jury. We went to trial. He was convicted and sentenced to 5 years in prison. A 5-year prison sentence for a police officer that had not caused even death was also, unheard of. So, but hopefully that prosecution and conviction changed the approach to law enforcement statements regarding use of force.
Absolutely. Wow. I mean, you're such a heavy hitter. What's next?
I think it'll be handing off this baton. It's one of the other things I get to do, or gotten to do, is teach at SMU and talk to the students out there. I teach ethics, but what I've seen is, that I'm ready for the next generation to come in and to see what they do next. I've had a great career. Certainly there'll be some opportunities still out there for me to do, but I'm much more excited about, the dynamic of change that I think the next generation can bring. And I'm happy to have been part of what I could do during my time period in practice, but who knows what tomorrow will bring.
Absolutely. And I know that you are the legal commentator for our Channel 4 News here locally, our Fox 4 News.
Right.
And one of the questions that I get asked all of the time, because you are a public influence, is about your hair.
Right.
So why don't we talk about what the hair symbolizes for you? People ask me, are you channeling Don King? Are you channeling Cornel West? I mean, what's going on?
So it's funny. I mean, this really, the hair came about because I had friends who were aging and balding, and they couldn't grow hair, but they were smaller than me weight-wise. And so I grew my hair to be able to mess with them some. And it really just kind of started out as that. It wasn't anything. Certainly, Don King and Cornel West, tremendously successful individuals.
Great company to work with.
Yeah. But, and then I think I just decided that I was going to let it do what it does.
Okay.
It hadn't been, I wasn't going to be deterred away. A lot of times your hair or your appearance can kind of dictate how you will receive. And I think, as my hair now has become more of a topic, I'm actually, able to be received well regardless. And now it's more, I think people start to recognize me because of the hair. So I tell people eventually I'll go back to the bald fade, which at the time I probably had worn since we were kids.
Right. So what are the courtroom stairs or the courthouse stairs?
At the end of the day, people are listening to what you have to say. Maybe initially somebody's going to say, something about the hair, and from time to time I'll think about it. But I think, substantively, you got to believe in the substance of what you're doing. And so, it's only an issue if you make it one.
Right.
And, people that talk to me and know me, they probably, look, I don't know, they look past it or nobody says they're not going to use my services because of it. So.
Because of your hair. Awesome. So what would you tell the young aspiring attorney coming out of law school that wants to be a criminal attorney?
Have faith, believe in God, and work hard. Don't take the easy road. When I started out, tell people I used to fall asleep waiting on the phone to ring. Because I only had a very small number of cases, but I would literally spend hours and hours poring over a variety of legal theories and law that was applicable to the case. And the more often I did that, the better I got. So now at 27 years in, it doesn't take me as long, but yeah, stay with it.
Right. Stay the course. That's awesome. Do you have anything else that you want our Big Texas Boston viewers to know?
I think everybody should know that, probably when we were, fourth grade, I want to say there was a time when my sister tried to impose rules on me. And my recollection is I headlocked her and I took her down to the ground.
That did not happen until 8th
She was doing one of those, where you're swinging like that. And I held down her arms and I laid down the law. And even though I was a little brother, that was the last time.
That didn't happen until 8th grade. It did happen. He's correct. The incident.
Now, I did go on to wrestle at the University of Oklahoma, so
she wrestled in high school.
Yeah. I was a wrestling team captain, so it wasn't like she was getting beat by. Yeah. She didn't lose to a cupcake, but she did lose. So,
all right. Well, now
that's it. Proud of all that you're doing. Continue to grow. She's definitely a boss in her own right, and it's an absolute joy to be here.
Thank you. I love you, and it was my honor and privilege to have you here. Thank you.
Love you too.
All right. Well, you've got our little sugar package with two glasses.
Okay.
That we sent for you all, Big Texas Boston. So please enjoy. I know you are a wine connoisseur.
Absolutely.
You will love it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to Big Texas Boston Podcast. If you like these conversations, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on all social media platforms at Big Texas Boston. Tag us on social at #BTB.